Okay, we're here on Poet to Poet, Writer to Writer with my guest, Wendy Drexler, and she has a new book out, Before There Was Before, okay? And it's a great collection of poetry. I'll read you an introduction to Wendy. Wendy Drexler is the author of Western Motel and the chapbook Drive-Ins, Gas Stations, the Bright Motels, and her poems have appeared in Barrow Street, Blood Orange Review, Ibbetson Street, Nimrod, the Hudson Review, many others. She's been featured on Verse Daily and WBUR Cognoscenti, and in the anthologies Blood to Remember, American Poets on the Holocaust and Burning Bright. She's been a poetry editor and a cavity nest monitor for the Massachusetts Audubon Society, and a 3-time Pushcart Prize nominee. And she lives in Belmont, Massachusetts. Okay. So I was going to ask you, number one, Wendy, and thank you for coming here.
Thank you for having me. Fun to be here.
Your poems are infused with things from nature, and I can't help but think some of your poems were inspired your work as a cavity nest monitor. Perhaps you can inform us on that.
Sure. I volunteered with the Mass Audubon Society to be a cavity nest monitor, and at their property they have these artificial nesting boxes that they've built to foster bluebirds and chickadees and swallows. These birds normally nest in hollow trees, but there are fewer hollow trees these days because people develop their land, they cut down dead trees, and so the birds need more places to nest. So I would go once a week to the back fields at Drumlin Farm and walk around quietly, very meditatively, and inspect the nests. So I'd listen for any sounds of birds, for evidence inside the boxes of nesting materials, and they trained the monitors so that I learned that red pine needles are preferred by bluebirds, and that the swallows decorate their nests with beautiful white feathers. So each bird has a different style, and I really enjoyed it because you really have to slow down. It was really like a meditation, in fact.
In this day and age, it's hard to slow down, isn't it?
It is definitely hard to slow down.
So I imagine there's a lot of fodder for poetry there.
Yes. In my previous book, Western Motel, I actually wrote a poem about the bluebird's eggs. So that was directly related to nesting. And then in this book, my poem Forbearance was inspired by walking past a field where there were a few cows on my way to the nests.
Okay.
Yeah, and just watching them.
Now,
yeah.
You've worked with Barbara Helfgett Hyde, who I had on the show, and you also did workshops at the Fine Arts Work Center in Provincetown, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell me about your experiences with both those venues.
Okay. Well, I've worked in Barbara's workshop for publishing poets, and I still do. I think I started there in about the year 2000, because I remember after 9/11, I brought the same poem about 9/11 like 10 weeks in a row, and I actually never finished it, but it was just, kind of obsessive. So I know I was there in 2001. Yes. I think it's wonderful to have readers, and Barbara's really smart, and she gets me. In my acknowledgments, I said she separates wheat from chaff. And I've also had wonderful experiences at the Fine Arts Work Center, beginning maybe 5 years ago in Marie Howe's workshop, and then a couple years later with Nick Flynn, and then 2 years later.
I used his memoir, Another Bullshit Night in Suck City.
Yeah.
It's really good.
That's a great book. Yeah.
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 We had him in the Somerville News Writers Festival many years ago.
Oh, did you? Yeah. His kind of focus was poetry as bewilderment. And then I also worked with Martha Collins 2 summers ago.
You just interviewed her?
Yeah. No, she's
she had a book about just recently.
Very good teacher.
About scientific racism.
Right, and genetics, eugenics.
Okay.
Yeah, really powerful stuff. Yeah. Yeah, no, it was great.
It was a good. Yeah. What makes a good poetry teacher for you?
Well, there are many ways. I think that's an interesting question. I mean, I think I'd have to respond individually, but certainly encouraging you to find your own voice. And I think inspiring with
a lot of
ideas and way
and the way you present
approaches.
stuff.
Yeah, like with Marie Howe. I mean, the wisdom I took from her is that the poetry is a form of interrogation in a way. The poem is the experience of making the poem, and it's fine to be tentative and to not be sure where you're going. I mean, I never write with intention consciously, but I think she just gave permission to be even more equivocal and to let the poem work itself out to find what it wants to say, and also not to say too much. I mean, she said every poem has an unsayable center. You don't want to fill it up with your words. So a poem can have mystery, can hold mystery. You know, it's not going to tell everything.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so that was, I think, really, really helpful. Yeah.
Now, your poems deal with time, its passing, capturing the moment. What is your balm to the passing of time, the ravages of time, everything like that? I mean, for you, what is your balm?
Balm? I think trying to be present and you know, live deeply, and I think part of that process is writing.
How does living deeply, how does poetry involved in you living deeply?
Well, it lets me pay attention to whatever it is I'm writing about, and often I'll begin with an image or something I've seen. Like just the other day, I saw on the sidewalk a block from my house.
A what?
A block from my house, I found on the sidewalk there was a little young owl dead, and its